making a mess over here. Be right back. So yeah, it's pretty nice out still. It was like low 80s today. I think it just barely broke 80, maybe 81. But a pretty steady breeze that seemed to get heavier later. Still nice out. Probably easily 70s, but not too humid, and a pretty steady breeze. Um, I was doing some gardening and was trying to keep the sun off me, so that's why I got a long sleeve shirt on, but I didn't really need it with the temperature. Um, I didn't used to be as mindful and careful of being in the sun and wearing sun protection and sunblock and all that when I was younger, and I got burnt pretty bad a few times. And now that I'm older, I'm much more mindful and cautious about that stuff. Um, a lot of it, I think, was like maybe like a sensory issue. Like I didn't like the greasiness, the feel of the sunblock on my skin. I just couldn't stand it. But lately, I found that the spray-on ones um, are much nicer because you can apply them like more thinly and evenly. It's almost like bug spray. You can hardly feel it on you, but sometimes I am kind of heavy-handed with it. Like put it on like I'm painting a car. Uh, so it's probably better to put it on like a lighter layer and then repeat as necessary, especially if you're swimming. But I can't remember the last time I was like sunburnt, which is good. Uh, but yeah, I got that like uh, that hat with the mesh shade in the back that I wear in the summertime when I'm outside. It keeps the sun off my neck. It's pretty nice, and it's like waterproof and floats. So I wear it swimming. But yeah, uh, back to working on this magic wand. Getting really close. It looks pretty good. I actually reset this antler back into the stem with wood glue, and I noticed when I was spinning this around that there's a very small hairline crack in that. So I think that had to do with me bearing down so hard on it and the wall being so thin right there, which is kind of like what I was concerned about. Um, so I think that's probably why it actually got knocked loose. So if for any reason this doesn't hold, I'll just cut past that crack and re-drill it and reseat it. Um, and I think that should be fine. Because if I wasn't, like bearing down on the antler so hard while I was running the box plane, I don't think that would have happened. and I got the matching set to that antler, so I'll probably make another. I'll probably make another one when I'm done with this one, but I'll probably figure something else out because this was like the long way to do it. I tapered the point down enough last time that I was able to actually set it in the drill chuck and spin it in some sandpaper. Um, and that worked pretty well, but I don't really like I'm not really super crazy about the uniformity of it. Like it almost looks like a thick like paintbrush handle, which I guess isn't bad. Um, but I want to shave the shaft down so it's like pretty even with that antler, and the antler's thinner this way than it is this way, so it'll be kind of like flat and tapered, and that'll take some of the weight out of the wood part of it. So, um, like if you're holding it from the handle, I don't want the weight of the wood to put stress on this joint right here if there's already a hairline crack in it. So, um, and this wood glue shrinks when it dries. So I want to put another layer in that seam so it packs it back out to the width of the antler. Um, I've got electrical tape covering the antler for when I put glue on it, and also for shaving it and sanding it right now, so I don't put gouges in the antler. So, and I got a little bit of marring on the tip from where I had it in the chuck, so I'll probably shave that down to a finer point. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's turning out. I wasn't gonna stream, but might sound silly, but it seems like I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something if I'm multitasking. Like rather than just sitting out here and shaping this and not, streaming or recording it. I figure I might as well. If I'm just going to be sitting out here talking to myself anyway, I might as well might as well do it live. Um, and this phone, this phone memory is almost full too, so I don't really have the space to be doing like long format recording until I dump some of this stuff. Or like, I don't really like to. I mean, like, I certainly could erase it as soon as I upload it, but then I don't have any kind of backup, so I got plenty of space on my desktop computer, so I should just dump the stuff to there, a flash drive or something, just to like clear up the space, so I can start all over again, filling them back up. That's this one and my old one are both 256 gig phones, and they're both floating near full. killdeer. Sweet. Yeah, it's pretty windy out here. So I don't really want like a pencil point or anything, but there's some indentations from where I got it in the drill chuck that I'd like to sand out if I can. I mean, I know that I can. I just don't want to remove a whole lot of material. Not more than I need to. Yeah, so I think I might be developing allergies of some kind. I've never been allergic to anything my entire life, but probably about the last year, like oddly enough, like since I stopped smoking, I've had like this persistent needing to clear my throat, and it's like nothing hardly comes up, but I think it's like post nasal drip or something because it feels like there's like a tiny little cat or snake curled up on the opposite side of my soft palate. Like I have no congestion, I have no trouble breathing through my nose or breathing in general, but it's like every once in a while there'll be this real thick, sticky mucus come out of my sinuses, or like the other side of the my soft palate, and I think that drips down my throat while I'm sleeping and kind of just hangs on my vocal cords or something. It's like a really, really strange and unpleasant feeling. So I've got that persistent like clearing the throat, and it doesn't really, nothing really comes up, and it's got this like itch to my throat, like I ate fiberglass or something. It's like very strange. So maybe a dust allergy or something. I mean, it doesn't seem to like get better if I spend like time outside or like away from home. I mean, I guess I don't really spend that much time outside or away from home, so I guess I can't really say. Um, I posted a video of my tower fan that failed. I took it outside and blew it out with the air compressor, and there was a considerable amount of dust. So I know there's like a considerable amount of dust in my room. Um, so that's something I need to take care of. Spring cleaning, as it were. uh, so that's a thought. So it's not something that like I never noticed previously, but I smoked for years. So I mean, I do remember like every morning waking up congested, when I smoked, and that getting better when I quit. But I don't remember this persistent needing to clear the throat, or I wonder if I was doing it before and just chalked it up to smoking and didn't give it a second thought. But now that I've not smoked for over a year, it's kind of, a bit worrisome and strange and unpleasant. Um, so that feeling that feels like I ate fiberglass or something. I don't know if that's like because of the clearing of throat has like irritated it or whatever. It also like maybe kind of feels like my soft palate is maybe slightly inflamed, like a little bit thicker than usual, and that's kind of why it feels like there might be stuff in there. But yeah, very very strange sensation. So um, I probably should see a doctor, but I don't want to. um, I'm pretty averse to doctors and medicine and stuff like that. Like I try to just deal with stuff on my own as best as I can, or like hope it'll kill me quickly, or something. I don't know. I guess I've had enough bad experiences, or like misdiagnosis, or you know, like I've had persistent back, shoulder, and hip pain for like 15 years. All kinds of like money and imaging and CAT scans and MRIs and stuff, and like nobody could really tell me what was wrong or tell me anything that made sense with the made sense to me with the symptoms I was having. So I felt like I was just like throwing money down the drain, money and time down the drain. It's just been like near constant pain. Um, Manageable, I guess. I mean, it's not like it doesn't like physically prevent me from being able to do stuff. Really, I mean, I guess maybe a little bit. Like it was like being active would seem to exacerbate it. So I would be less active, and that only made it worse. So, uh, I mean, maintaining like a baseline level of like fitness and uh, not being like excessively overweight is certainly a helpful towards that end. Um, I've been putting some weight back on lately, so I need to really kind of get that under wraps, and it's really mostly just like poor decisions, diet wise, and not being as mindful of like calorie intake and calorie expenditure, and not doing as much cardio. I mean, now that it's getting nicer, that'll be easier because I'll be able to skate more. Um, and then when it gets warm enough, be able to swim more. Um, but yeah, I would say the biggest part is like diet and calorie intake and portion size, and not eating just because I'm bored. Uh, just making deliberate food choices consistently. But yeah, I don't like eat terrible. I mean, I cook at home all the time, so It's not like I eat like a lot of junk food or processed or fast food or stuff. I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a pretty well balanced diet. I would say I just got to be more mindful of like portion size and maybe not so many carbs. I mean, I like rice. I like bread. I don't really consume very much sugar, whether through food or drinks. I just don't really drink a lot of coffee, but I drink it black. That's just how I prefer it anymore. Every once in a while, I might have a small cup with cream and sugar and cinnamon, but that's not the norm. I mean, I do drink a lot of coffee. I wonder if that might have anything to do with my allergy. Um, I mean, I had that thought, because I haven't been to the point where like I'm. I would say I'm 95% certain whatever it is environmental, something to do with my environment or lifestyle or something like that. So, um, I know my coffee cups can get kind of gross sometimes. I just like constantly refill them. Rinse them out or whatever, and then I give them a good wash every now and then. But like, and run them through the dishwasher, but not that often. So like, that's something that I thought of. I mean, they got like tiny little areas that are hard to get to even with a brush. So like, I wonder if maybe they're not like growing mold or something. Uh, I think the dust is probably my primary suspect. So I need to give a thorough cleaning of my room and take care of that and see if it makes a difference. Another thing is, I did get that new bed, and it's just like a foam 4-inch like futon mattress, and I know like sometimes some of those can release like formaldehyde or like VOCs or stuff like that. So I hadn't really given much thought to that as an option until like, I mean, I guess maybe like in a passing thought, but I suppose that could also be possible. Um, I've got I've got some really old pillows too, which is like, I guess kind of a meme. Like they show like those pictures of like dudes with pillows that are like like brown and yellow, and like I've got some that are like, without exaggeration, maybe 35 years old. Like they look like tobacco leaves or like papyrus or like old seafaring maps. So um, that's a possibility. But I mean, they're not like in any worse condition now than they have been for the last 10 years. So it seems strange that like all of a sudden they'd be like giving me breathing issues. But yeah, it's gotten better. Um, I had heard of people using mullein, uh, the plant, for respiratory issues. That has been used like that as a medicine for thousands of years. So you can smoke it or you can make a tea, and it seems like counterintuitive that smoking something could help your chest and lungs, but anecdotally it seems to have helped, and it is widely known that it has been used for that purpose by people for thousands of years, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of years. So, um, I have seen a market improvement since doing that, and I do both. But more often than not, I smoke it rather than making the tea. But it's good as the tea as well. Um, Again, I used to smoke cigarettes, but I quit. And smoking this is pleasant, but a little bit strange in the sense that, I mean, in a good way. It's like you smoke it and it's not like harsh or acrid like tobacco is, and there's like hardly any smell to it. Like it leaves like almost no smell on your hands or hair or clothes. It's like, which is, I mean, that's a good thing. It just strikes me as odd. Um, and I'm a little bit curious why more people don't do it, even if like, I mean, that seems like something that might help someone to quit smoking. I had already quit smoking cigarettes, but like if I could smoke this rather, and it helps my lungs rather than hurt it, that kind of seems like a no-brainer. But and it's free. It just grows wild everywhere. You just don't want to pick it from like railroad tracks or like side of the highway somewhere where they're likely to have gotten sprayed. But they do grow everywhere. I think popular, most populated places all over the earth. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Um, I mean, it's not done yet, but so far so good. I'm pretty happy with it. I feel like I could slim it down some, but I don't know if I really need to. If I leave it thicker like that, it would be easier to make a repair if I ever need to. I can cut off the piece and just re-drill it and remount that antler. So I like that. Um, but yeah, let me oil it and see how it turns out. Run in for a second. I'll be right back. All right, so I got some Vaseline to oil the wood to bring out the grain and kind of moisturize and protect it. And I got some electrical tape. I probably should have glued it first, to be honest, but that's all right. I was gonna say I got some electrical tape to tape around the wood right there, so I could fill that seam with wood glue. But now that I got that excess uh, Vaseline in there, I don't know if that's gonna affect how the glue sticks to it. So I might have to do something about that. Maybe tape it and like flush it out with alcohol or something. Yeah, you can see how much oil in it brings out the wood grain. That looks nice. And it picks up like staining and color and character from the oils in your hands and stuff. This is actually, this pipe I made right here is actually from the same branch, just been used and whatnot. And in my hand, this probably could use some oiling too. I mean, since I got the rag out, I might as well just do it. But yeah, it develops character from being used and handled and charred a little bit. So yeah, I think this is done. Other than that glue seam where the antler meets the wood. Um, so I'm going to tape off the wood at the base and just leave that seam exposed so I can put a little bead of wood glue in there. But since I just oiled the wood with the Vaseline, I got to probably clean it out with alcohol or something so it has something to stick to, because I don't think it'll stick with the Vaseline in there. I probably should have done that first and just oiled it tomorrow. But now I know better for next time. Yeah, I still haven't figured out the chat. I mean, like most of my first streams, like nobody would even show up, and that's fine. I mean, I just most did it just for the bot anyway, because I didn't have space on my phone to record long format, so I would just kind of riff, and I could post something, half hour, hour and a half long without having to take up space on my phone. So that was pretty cool. Um, Never really thought anybody would show up, and then I did um, that fireside chat while I was um, burning brush, and I saw a couple chats come up on the screen, but I was like in the middle of something, so by the time I would see it come up, it was already leaving. So, um, but lately I've had. I mean, when I look at my metrics or whatever, it says that I have chats, but I never saw them come up on the screen. But if they're only up there for like a little fraction of a second, and I've got my attention away from the screen, then I've got no way to like go back and look and see what they were, or maybe there's a way, and I'm just not experienced enough to know what it is. Yeah, but usually when I'm doing this stuff, it's like my attention is elsewhere, and I'm streaming it from my phone, so it's kind of small and a couple feet away. So I'd probably be struggling to read it at this distance anyway. Um, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice just having stuff to put out there. I guess. Like YouTube in general is pretty cool. I met like all kinds of people all over the place that like have similar interests and just being their authentic weird self and putting it out there, and it's kind of wholesome in a way. I mean, there's a lot of like worthless. There's a lot of worthless slop out there too. You kind of got to sift through the sewage to find the gold, I guess. But there is gold out there, and there are good people, and um, it's nice to be reminded of that, especially these days, because it kind of fucking sucks out there. You know what I mean? Uh, like people are terrible. So when you find people that like really care about being their authentic self and like having a positive attitude, and that's always refreshing to see. Makes you feel a little bit less alone in the world. But yeah, I'm really happy with how these magic wands turned out. Again, I haven't tried them yet to see if they work, but I've got no reason to think that they wouldn't. I like how the first one I made is like, I guess more for function than form. Like it's kind of like twisted and crooked, and I don't know. It just has charm and character. I guess I forgot the wood glue. That's all right. I'll bring some alcohol and Q-tips too, so I can clean up that space. Still forgot the wood glue. It was in my pocket the whole time. That figures. All right, so I think that's probably good enough. I think the glue should stick to it anyway. This glue is pretty old. Uh, my mom likes to put a layer of plastic in and screw the lid on it and kind of dip it out rather than squeeze it so it doesn't get like dried glue in the cap. So yeah, that wood glue kind of shrinks up a little bit as it dries. So it kind of receded into that gap right there between the wood and the antler. So put another layer on it. We'll see how that does. But I have a feeling I might want or need to have to do that again, just so there's like a smooth transition between the antler and the wood, which is what I'm looking for. Uh, it doesn't need to be perfect. Um, I'm very happy with it overall. It's a lot more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but I mean the other one's bigger, but it's wieldy because it's heavier at the base. I guess balance. I guess I would say this one's a little bit more well balanced. Um, but yeah, I think I'm gonna make another one with the other antler. I saw this deer skeleton sitting on the side of the road for like months, and I imagine it died before it snowed, and then we had that period of like heavy snow, and then like sub freezing temperatures for like weeks. So it snowed, and then like sleet and freezing rain on top. So there was like just a shell of ice over top of like probably 8 inches of snow underneath, and it just didn't go anywhere because it was so cold for so long. So like I saw these like deer rib bones sticking up out of the snow, and I had a thought, like whenever the snow melts, I'll come check it out, see if there's parts I can take off of it. Because I think I remember seeing it before it snowed, but it was like still not like fresh, but not like it hadn't been cleaned by like vultures or whatever. So I saw the bare rib bones sticking out. I was like, oh, that must be good. And then once the snow melted, whatever was under the snow was still pretty well preserved. I mean, I don't know if there was meat in it, but there was at least like skin and fur. So I wanted to give it a little bit more time. But like even when I went back for these, there still was skin and fur, but like the eyes were eaten out of the sockets and there wasn't any meat left. So, um, but yeah, ideally I would have liked to have been able to knock them out of the sockets, which is what I was hoping to do. And if I took more care or used tools like a flathead screwdriver or a flat bar and a hammer, I probably could have just busted the skull out around it and just pulled the whole things out. But instead, I just stomped on it, hoping they would just come out of the socket. But I guess not really the right time of year for that. And they ended up snapping off. So there's probably like maybe this much more left to the surface of the skull, but it got thicker as it went. So um, I would have been like to have been able to get the whole things, but deer antlers are useful to have for like burnishing tools for uh, leather leather working or like stone working, like flint knapping, making stone tools like arrowheads or knives or spearheads or whatever. Not that I've ever done that, but they're better than like a comparable hardness and density of plastic for certain things. And I don't know, there's like just something about stuff like that that you can feel the connection to the natural world around you. Like I'm more interested in natural things like stones and bones and shells and teeth and feathers and stuff like that than I am about like jewelry, like gold and gems and stuff. I mean, I like found uncut gemstones. I think that's really cool. My buddy had one that was green. I don't remember what it was exactly. He told me, but it's probably like maybe about this big, and he found it up maybe like 40 minutes north of here. Pretty much most of the whole state here is like not very high above sea level. A lot of it's wetlands. Um, so not much, not much to speak of in the way of rocks, except for like up in the northern county. Uh, but yeah, I like it here. I always have liked it here. I mean, I've left a couple times for not, but not for very long. Um, there's not any like, especially. I mean, there's not like, I would say not any venomous snakes, but I think maybe there might be some, very few and far between. But we're not like really like an area where it's like prone to them or anything like that. I could be mistaken on that. I mean, my thought is that like, and I've spent a lot of my life outside, that I've never even had to like give a second thought about worrying about where I step or anything like that about being bitten by a venomous snake, because they're just like so few and far between, if any at all, that you don't even have to worry about it. And I mean, I have been bitten by snakes, but not venomous snakes. So, uh, if I lived in a place where that wasn't a concern, it probably wouldn't work out too well for me. So that's one thing I like very much about where I live, that there's not like venomous snakes, there's not bears, there's not like anything land animal wise that'll kill you except for like other people. I mean, there's stuff in the water that could hurt you, like sharks and stingrays and jellyfish and stuff like that. But I would say most of that locally is likely to be survivable. Like we don't have like big sharks often enough that, I mean, I would have to look it up, but I don't remember in my lifetime ever hearing of any fatal shark attacks locally. So that's one thing that I think is really cool about where I'm from. You get to enjoy the outdoors without stuff that some people have to worry about, like watching where you step so you don't get bit by a venomous snake. We got like spiders and stuff, like black widows, but that's not really like worrisome. We've got a lot of ticks. Um, that can be problematic. I remember, I remember a couple years ago, I found a was walking around the woods out at the farm, and not far off the trail, I saw this big eastern cauliflower mushroom, like the size of like like a big head of cabbage. And I'd never had them before, but I knew they were edible. Um, Mushrooms can be kind of sketchy. Foraging mushrooms can be kind of sketchy, so I try to stick to the ones that there's like no mistaking what they are, and no potentially toxic lookalikes. Like I found lion's mane that's very identifiable. Uh, Veiled oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms are usually pretty unmistakable. The eastern cauliflower that I found, there's not really anything that looks like it. And the ones that are even like vaguely similar are also edible. Like, I mean, maitakes don't really look that much like it, but kinda similar. But they're edible too, so that's fine. But I've never seen them personally. Never seen chicken in the woods, but I wanted to try it. But again, I've never found it. So the only ones I've ever found and eaten were the lion's mane, the veiled oysters, the eastern cauliflower, which was very good, by the way. Um, I don't know if it was like maybe like past its prime age wise for picking. I thought it was great, but I don't know if everybody would also think it was great because it had kind of like a rubbery, almost like cartilaginous texture to it. So it really kind of reminded me, taste and texture wise, like fried clams, and I absolutely loved it. But people that are put off by certain textures might not have enjoyed it because it's like like a real kind of like rubbery chewiness, like you're just chewing on rubber bands or something, and then there's like a vague, almost like crunch, like you're eating cartilage. Um, so maybe not for everyone, but I very much enjoyed it. Oh, and also puffballs, skull and brain puffballs. I forage them when I see them locally, but maybe more for the novelty. They're not like a very. I didn't find them very impressive. Um, they're better dried, so I cut them up into like kind of like French fry shapes and uh, dehydrate them because they keep kind of indefinitely that way, and I feel like that improves the texture. Like I'll just put them into whatever I'm cooking dried, and they'll absorb the flavor and liquid of whatever I'm cooking, and they'll be a bit firmer texture than they were fresh. Because fresh, they're just like kind of like a soft tofu almost. They're like kind of like pillowy. Um, I wouldn't say that I dislike them fresh, but I certainly prefer them dried. Um, I mean, they don't really taste like anything fresh, but they absorb the flavor of whatever you're cooking, which sounds like a good thing, like tofu almost. But they're like the texture is suboptimal for what I consider to be optimal for a mushroom. I kind of like the response of how mushrooms feel on your teeth or whatever. Even like plain white button mushrooms, portobellos, there should be some kind of resistance, and these just don't have that. It's like almost like biting into a marshmallow, but it doesn't taste like anything. So it's like a little bit strange in that regard, but they're pretty big, and the ones I found was probably within a quarter mile to a half mile of here. So for my part, maybe more for the novelty. Like I just enjoy foraging, so even if even if what I forage ends up not being that great, it's still kind of like rewarding and enjoyable in a sense, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I'm into that stuff. I like foraging. I like knowing about edible and medicinal plants, and I can hard I can hardly leave my house without finding something to eat any time of the year. So that kind of like makes me feel good that like I've never got to worry about starving. uh, we got this thing out here in the flower bed that I'm pretty sure is like some kind of false dandelion or cat's ear or something like that because it almost looks like dandelion but not quite. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to wild foraging spring plants here shortly. I actually quite like dandelion. It's a little bit bitter, but not in a bad way. And the cat's ear or flatweed or false dandelions or whatever, they're all edible too. Um, we had wild lettuce come up in the backyard last year. Um, it didn't go into seed, so I hope it comes back up because I quite enjoyed that as well. Even though they do have spines on the underside of the midrib, um, mean, you don't have to like do anything to it. Just be mindful in how you're chewing it because it can kind of stick in your tongue, and it's not like it's not like damaging. It's just like a little bit of a sharp. But yeah, we got fruit trees in the back blooming. The plums, the 2 plum trees, and the 2 peach trees. We got buds on the blueberries. The rosemary's not doing too good, but I think that might have been a result of all the snow and ice. The weight of all the snow and ice on it, maybe. Like pretty much the whole plant, all the little, I guess you'd call them leaves, whatever, the like little rosemary spines or needles or leaves or whatever you want to call them. Most of them are brown. Like probably like 90% of this big plant out there is brown, and that's not been the case in previous years. And it wasn't the case until it was like buried into the snow and ice for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. So I suspect that it's related, but I can't say that for sure, and I don't really know. It might just be the age and like in need of pruning or whatever, but like I don't even know where to get started on that. Not really much of a green thumb. I just like find plants rather than like plant plants. That's more like my mom's thing. Um, though I did transplant that maypops, the passion vine flower, uh, passion flower vine. There was a bunch of them out at the farm, and I transplanted one out here just because I like the way the flowers look, and I know they grow edible fruit, and they just like been coming up everywhere. So it's like not something that you really want to plant somewhere unless you're able to contain it, or you don't care if it spreads because it will spread. But the flowers are pretty, and the fruit tastes good, and it's a native species plant, so pollinators love it. So, but yeah, it spread much faster, much further, and much faster than I was expecting. I just put one in one corner on the outside of the blueberry bush, and then the next year they were just like popping up all over the place inside and outside of the blueberry uh, enclosure. But yeah, we'll see. I got quite a few fruits off of it last year. I was a little bit surprised because I wasn't expecting that many to come up, but that's fine. If you pick them before they're all the way ripe, they kind of taste like a cross between like lime and cucumber, but not in a bad way. Just not really much, if any, sweetness to speak of. But when they start to get ripe, they have a real like tropical candy type of flavor. Like it almost doesn't taste like something that would come from nature. It's like I don't know, like a starburst or something. But it's pretty neat. Um, but yeah, again, I enjoy the novelty of foraging. Uh, Found some May apples, the maypops, pawpaws. I think I found some stinging nettle, but I didn't want to touch it to confirm that's what it was. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I've never tried eating that. I had some pokeweed the last few years, which is, um, I guess, edible with an asterisk. Like it requires proper prep and cooking. Uh, but I actually quite liked it. It's kind of like tastes somewhere between like spinach, asparagus, and green beans. I don't usually like my vegetables cooked that much, but you kind of gotta like boil them in a big pot of water, like you would pasta. I mean, some people say that you have to like change the water and boil it twice or whatever, but I think it's more important that you have a sufficient amount of water to cook them in. Um, so, from what I have read and heard and understand, I guess there are some toxic compounds in it that are water soluble, and there are some that are in it that are heat soluble. So, boil it in a pot with plenty of water, like you would pasta, for like 10-15 minutes or whatever, and strain it out. Strain out the leaves from the liquid, and then pan fry the liquid with some kind of fat, like butter or bacon or something like that, and that would break down whatever remaining toxins could remain. Um, but yeah, I wasn't terribly impressed the first couple of times I had it because I don't really like my veggies cooked to death. So it just was like seemed kind of like a green mush, and it was like a little bit indifferent to it. I mean, it wasn't unpleasant. I just could take it or leave it, and just for the risk of like potentially ingesting toxins, it almost didn't really seem worth it. But it grows everywhere. It's free. And the second time I cooked it, or last year when I cooked it, um, I cooked the leaves and the stalk in the center of the plant, and I cooked them with bacon and garlic and onions, and it was just very, very, very good. Like I've had instances where I eat it where it gives me a little bit of like a scratchiness to my throat, kind of like what I was talking about with like what I suspect to be allergies that I've been having lately, where it almost feels like you ate fiberglass, and it's like so. I don't know if that was like an error on my part in the cooking or prep, or maybe the time of year that I picked it. Like I know you're supposed to probably avoid it if it looks heat stressed, and you're probably supposed to avoid it if it's got like pre berries or berries on it, or like a whole lot of purple on the stem. So it's really something that's better suited for earlier in the season, and it's not an absolute, but I guess the highest concentrations of toxins are in the root, and then from there the berries. Though I have heard people taking, um, I have heard of people using the berries to treat arthritis, um, but I don't know. I haven't personally tried that, and I can't speak on it. But some people seem to swear by it, uh, but not the seeds. You wouldn't want to eat the seeds of the berries, just the pulp and skin, I suppose. Not that I'm suggesting that you try it, but I guess it's one of the things that is, anecdotal evidence or something that so many people have been doing for so long that it makes you wonder if there's anything to it, and kind of personally makes me consider wanting to try it because I've had such issues with chronic back pain and shoulder and hip pain for so long that mainstream medicine hasn't really been able to help me with. So it makes me curious and willing to maybe try a little bit more fringe or alternative means. But I mean, I guess a lot of the reason why mainstream medicine frowns upon, I guess, more holistic approaches is that there's no money to be made. So, like, if you can get treatment for your arthritis or whatever ails you from a plant that just naturally grows wherever, they don't stand to make any money off of it. So, I feel like there's a lot of like, I mean, maybe this is like entering in the tinfoil hat area, but it's like I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there to steer you away from seeking out alternatives to mainstream medicine. And I think that's unfortunate because there's a lot of stuff that has been, used by humans, for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. So, um, yeah, it's hard to know who to trust anymore. Uh, and that is unfortunate, but such is life. Yeah, I'll see how this turns out. Uh, I might need to give it another coat. We'll see. It does seem to shrink up a bit when it dries, so I might have to do a couple layers to build it out so there's like a smooth transition to that branch. But otherwise, I'd say it's done and I'm happy with it. But yeah, that's about it. If you stop by, thanks for stopping by. If I didn't catch you this time, maybe I'll catch you next time. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.